They came across the big bridge. I stepped out onto my patio and I recognized these people don't look regular. One short and squatty. On a smaller note, perhaps the Guyana Defense Force. We know more about the Guyana Police Force than we know about the Guyana Defense Force. Other crime. And they got thousands of documents where his name is mentioned in the commission of these crimes. But in Guyana, we got a man who Vice News has put information out there, alleges that he has been involved in corrupt practices, insider trading of government contracts, etc. A man who was scheming to sell a hotel that taxpayers' money built and saved from foreclosure to his friends and cronies, and Guyanese remain quiet about it. What's wrong with us? Where is our democracy? When will we stand and defend it? It's 70 minutes.
Kams audio son, you burn the swine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you.
Good evening. What is your name?
Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never money, never money, never money, money, I know what you can even money. Money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, you can keep your conniving money. When you've been a corrupt bum, in a bill there be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bill there be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me work for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me work for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. Now I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph.
Well, I invoke the WP's position that we are engaging in civil disobedience and non-cooperation with the government. And on that grounds, I refuse to participate in the interview. The question in struggle, is not personal. Whatever sacrifice as a political activist or a political leader you have to make for your people, you have to make it.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Kams TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politicians, they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Beep, beep, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see. Sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Rickford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam. Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London. Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Poor People Governor. Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson. Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
Kams audio son. You burn this wine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Kams, I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
I love the sense of humor, you know. I love the sense of humor. Listen, this girl Yonette is something else, you know. Yonette Elias, who you be? Yonette, anytime you see me, stop me, man. And ensure you get my bunks. And say, hey, Mr. Amsterdam is me. Who needs enemies when they got friends like Yonette? Yonette morning. Yonette said them Dalai Lama in the install is messing with the life. Y'all know the story of the Dalai Lama? Y'all stop datifying people. A man is just a man. I'll keep that in mind. A man is just a man. We all have our weaknesses. Some of us can control them, others can't. Or others choose not to. Right? You know, reading the story of the Dalai Lama, it's just sickening. It just churns the stomach. It is so sickening to recognize, you know, all of these people society holds in high esteem. Right? Society holds them in high esteem and praise them, and, you know, Mahatma Gandhi is revered among some people as this and that and the other thing, and there is so much evidence out there. There's so much evidence out there that supports the position that he has been racist and that he has undermined the struggle of black South Africans. All kinds of things. Mahatma Gandhi. Right? There's so many allegations that go around this world about people that they hold in high esteem. All of the priests and so on of the Roman Catholic churches around the world, and who've been accused of sexually abusing boys and stuff like that. Makes you think that the people in this world are sick, especially those who are leaders. Because for the most part, people look up to their leadership. They place tremendous trust in their leadership. They will put their head on a block for leaders. And what some leaders do, they be simply the best. Y'all remember the one too? They chose to be simply the best. So here it is in 2023, we are hearing of the Dalai Lama kissing a little boy on his lips. And if that were to be overlooked, he had the temerity to tell the little boy, suck on my tongue. What sickness is that? What sickness is that? I am sure in the eyes and in the books of a lot of people, the Dalai Lama represents peace and love and tranquility and humanity and everything else, right? But here is this old pervert. Old pervert. We are not going to see the Dalai Lama dragged before the courts, you know. All he did was issue an apology. An apology is good enough in the eyes of some people when some people misbehave. Right? An apology is good enough in the eyes of some people when their friends and cronies misbehave. But for others, they must be shackled. And they must be placed in solitary confinement I must lock them up and throw away the key. And stuff like that. The Dalai Lama is just about one example of the sickness around this world. Listen out and see if you will hear the churches condemn it. Listen out and hear if you will hear the big politicians, the US politicians and Brits and Canadians and so on, condemn it and call for the Dalai Lama to have a day in court. Child sexual abuse or something to the extent. Right? Let's see about that. In Ghana, let me tell you, sometimes this thing really saps my energy, honestly. I'm only human, so sometimes I just have to relate with you from a humanistic point of view. Right? You know what hurt me this morning? You ever... Yeah, I'm coming to the Kieran Boo story. You know what hurt me this morning? All the time this live is running, this broadcast is running smoothly. And as soon as the rebroadcast is finished and Mr. Amsterdam decided to sit on the chair to start the day's live, it is as if somebody is there looking at me. And as soon as I shape up, they disconnect the live. They don't want Kiraki Amsterdam speaking to 500, 600, 700, 1,000 plus persons when the day comes. Why? But it really hurt me, I'm telling you seriously. You know, sometimes some people, I mean, I expect that, listen, they are always consistently trying to disrupt the program and so on. But God, disrupt it before I sit down, the man. It's like a slap in your face. That thing hurtful. I'm hurt this morning. I am seriously hurt. You know? Man, listen, Kelly Ford, good morning. As long as I see you, girl. Why is this happening? I'm searching all the time. This is a 24/7 job for me right now, trying to find a solution. I'm not going to give up. But just imagine how frustrating it can be. Right? But I'm getting places. I'm learning. Every day I'm learning something else. I'm closer to the point of believing whatever it is affecting the programming is on this computer. I'm getting closer to that point. I've done all kind of scans on this computer. I'm not finding any malware. They say that is how Pegasus operates. Pegasus will be on your devices and you don't even know Pegasus is on your devices, and you could scan as deep as you want and you can't find Pegasus. The thing is really intrusive. Right? I am at the point where I seriously believe I just need to put this computer in a corner and start all over again. Right? Well, hey, you know where I get my reassurances from? Trina get fruit, little wine up peltam, you know. Trina get fruit, little wine up peltam, you know. Have I been as ineffective as the PPP and the trolls claim every morning? Let me put two and two together. Let me play stupid. Yesterday I said I ain't too bright, and Janet was angry with me for that. But, you know, like I explained, I love sarcasm. I love sarcasm. Right? So it gonna just slip out sometimes. Because it's you know, I just love sarcasm. That is why I love old calypsos and I love old music and so on. Because when you listen, you hear so much pun and so on in the songs and so on. what they call them, the double entendre or whatever they call. I love that kind of use of language. So sometimes when you hear I talk, well, you know, yeah, just forgive me. Good? But I reassure myself, or I get reassurance of the fact that I must be doing something to make these people every day dedicate resources to disrupting this program and trying to keep me off air. Nobody will expend resources where they're not getting returns. Unless you're damn fool, unless you're Ali. You buy wedding ring. You buy wedding ring that people are wearing. Right? They just toss it in a corner for somebody else pick up and sell, according to them. Right? Nobody invests where they're not seeing returns. I mean, some people will tell you that you don't get a return from a certain kind of bank. Good? But that's not the discussion this morning. The fact is, the PPP, the government, the ruling party, whatever you want to call them, they've dedicated time and energy and resources, man hours to me. And I'm glad. I'm a celebrity. Y'all must come and get me autograph. I know Miranda Brown has been assigned to me. But let's talk about what's happening in this country. My entire the whole aim of this morning discussion was to talk about local government and what is happening in the preparation in the run-up to local government elections. We'll have to talk about that. But one of the things which I was just informed of, somebody actually sent a link to me, so I'll share that link with you also. But I was just in conversation, right? I was just in conversation with one of our leading pressmen. And I was told that they shot up the home of Kieran Bruce last night. Somewhere around 1 o'clock 1 o'clock is this morning actually. 40 morning, early morning. They shot up the home of Kieran Bruce. And Kieran has a little post up here, which I will share with you. You have a right to know. And then we're going to talk about some things. Right? Talk about some things. Here is the thinks I deserve the Kieran Bruce post. I think it said
let me take my daughter home right now, or I will slap a lawsuit on you.
Let us not run from the fact that someone thought I deserve to have my house shut up. My family and I are okay. Right? My family and I are okay. Someone thought I deserve to have my home shut up. Something to that extent. Y'all know who's Kieran Bruce? Why would they want to shoot up the home of Kieran Bruce? Y'all know when a lot of drive-by shooting takes place in this society? Kieran Bruce is the man, the young man, the individual that the Guyana police had arrested some time ago, alleging that he was mudwater. Y'all remember that? They had arrested Kieran Bruce claiming that he was mudwater. And if I remember clearly, that arrest stemmed from a complaint made by a close friend, an operative of the media operative, and a close friend of your Clifton Higgins. Y'all remember that? Y'all could call him, I go whistle. Right? A media operative, something shit, they call it, had made a complaint, police complaint against Mudwater. I don't know if the individual alleged that Mudwater was Kieran Bruce or is Kieran Bruce. But I know for a fact that Bruce was arrested Bruce was arrested, and the police were investigating, and I think they put him on charge, and then for a long time, up until now, nothing has been heard of that story. Nothing new has been heard about that story. But here it is. With the PPP comfortably in office, Higgins apparently has been granted his extension, I understand, up to July, to sit in the seat of commissioner, acting commissioner, whatever it is. Dataram is in the custody of the US, singing like a canary, I understand. And the boys with the big guns are out to play. Right? The boys with the big guns are out to play. And Bruce's home has been shut up. His car, from the look of it, got a couple of shots. Well, I'm looking at the car. I don't know if anybody observed that or if I'm imagining things. Is that vehicle bulletproof or semi-bulletproof? I'm not sure, but I see the glass shattered but not shattered, or something to that extent. It didn't crumble. By the door lock, I see an indentation there. Did that come from a bullet and it didn't penetrate? But it looks to me, I don't know, I'm not an expert on these things. I just look at things and believe I know what I'm talking about. It looks as though the vehicle is semi-bulletproof or bulletproof. But one of the things to note here, I don't know who did it. Let me start by saying I don't know who did it. Right, let me start by saying I don't know who did it. I would like to know. I would like them to catch the culprit so we can know who the intellectual authors are. Those are things the Guyana police don't interest itself in this country. You know, who are the intellectual authors? Why was Bruce's vehicles? Why was Bruce's home selected to be shut up? Because he is allegedly this anti-everybody critic, because as far as I know he criticizes everybody. Or because there is no justice to be had from the court for these complaints which have been made against him to the police, because they can't find any evidence to prove that this is the culprit. And so let us go to jungle justice. Is that what is happening in this country? What you have to understand in this country is that once the PPP is in office, you're going to get a lot of jungle justice. A lot of headhunters come out from their cracks and their grooves. And I'm reminding you that under past PPP government, they engaged a lot of headhunters. And I'm telling you that under this current administration, they are engaging a lot of headhunters. In case you didn't remember, let me remind you that I told you not so long ago that the nasty, dirty, stinking work that Gadrad used to do out of Ministry of Home Affairs is now being done out of Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. And so don't ask why the character athletes are not treated properly, because nobody has time with that. They got time to manage the nasty, stinking, dirty business that Gadra used to manage. It's now being managed out of that ministry. Y'all understand? See? Understand that once you have a criminal cabal in government, a cartel, quite frankly, in government, acts like these will continue. The citizens in general will not be protected and safe. But in particular, critics of the government and friends of the government will certainly not be safe nor protected unless they create their own safe zones and protection. I'm going to tell y'all something here just now. Y'all going to be surprised. As long as the PPP is in government, this criminal cabal, a lot of people will be fearful, including media workers, including policemen and women, including law enforcement in general, including members of the judiciary. People will live in fear. They will be afraid of speaking truth to power. They will be afraid of standing up in defense of their country. Because what they say, self-preservation is nature's first rule. It's best to live under bad conditions than die fighting for good conditions. A lot of people are of that opinion. And so you don't be surprised when the society is as comatose as it is. Because if you dare stand up, the gunmen and women gonna come at you. Don't think it's men alone that do these things. And so Kieran Bruce is just about one example. I got a little whisper for y'all. The PPP continues with its lawlessness. When Beast and Moore under the previous PPP government was caught with the whole armory in his home, I don't know how many of you remember that story. An entire armory, they found Beast with AK-47 and all kinds of things in Moore. He was arrested and taken to the to the Vigilance Police Station. Okay? He was taken to the Vigilance Police Station. What resulted? The police failed to charge him because of political instructions from the PPP. Beast, a PPP hitman. UC Guyana, brother, UC Guyana filed private criminal charges against Beast. They used the police to pull out the records from the occurrence book at Vigilance Police Station. The records were pulled out. The pages were pulled out. And so that case fell through, I think, eventually. Understand that. The PPP protects its hitmen in this society. And they use them to intimidate and threaten the lives of people who dare to criticize them. There's been a whisper around about some people from the Middle East, I can't remember their nationality, slipping into the country recently. Have you heard that whisper? And people are saying that is one of the reasons why the US issued the security bulletin, because these people slipped into the country. I understand perhaps from Trinidad. Are these the people who were used to shoot up Bruce's home? I don't know. I'm just thinking. Are these the people? Are they mercenaries? We know the PPP doesn't invest in them. Here's what I want to tell you, that I have held close to my chest. They are out there and they're gunning for us. And they're using people who look like you and I to either do the scouting or the gunning. Every day I look outside and I see a business parked out there. Some people will know what I'm talking about. I used to manage a mobile restaurant on the roadside. But once I started getting under the skin of the PPP, the threats and the movements started to be registered. I would have mentioned it previously, people tracking my movements and so on. And for that reason, I had to remove myself from the roadside. For that reason, I no longer operate a roadside business. But you think that is all? They are even more desperate now. They're coming to where I live, or where I operate, or one of the places that they know they can find me, or think they will always find me. Why am I saying this? Because Kieran Bruce is just another critic. Well, sorry, let me don't even say Kieran Bruce is just another critic. It is alleged Kieran Bruce is just another critic under the pseudonym Mudwater. That's the allegation. I don't know this individual, I don't know his background, I don't know much about him, so I don't know if he has been involved in anything on the ground or on the arm. But when you hear that a person accused of being a usual critic in the society, his home has been shot up, you need to take stock. Because according to the poet, when they came for the Jews, I didn't bother myself because I'm not a Jew. They came for Christians and Catholics, and I didn't because I'm not of those. But eventually they came for me. He's not likely to be the last. And society, the citizens of this country, can very well determine how long that will be allowed to happen in this society. Don't let us forget Waddle. Don't let us forget Crummy Wing. Don't let us forget McKinnon. Died. And we can remember them. The question is that enough to just remember them? They have paid the ultimate price fighting for us in the society to enjoy certain freedoms. But here it is, 20, 30 years after. People are still faced with the kind of tyrannical leadership that the PPP offers. It means the society, the citizens have failed, the citizens are failing, the citizens are not standing up to defend their democracy and stop tyranny. That should make people like me very afraid, very scared, very afraid. We should just go in our corner like everybody else and stay quiet. But how does that help society? But does it even help society for us to lay our lives on the line to be remembered as another martyr like Waddle and Crummy Wing and so on? McKinnon? Y'all don't know who's McKinnon. Y'all could remember that McKinnon, she was shot just outside the empty land by PPP, Freedom House headquarters there on Robb Street. The gunman was in Freedom House and fired from the back section of the building, either window or door. At least that is what has been recorded. So let let's not forget the blood of Donald McKinnon. You know Crummy Wing, it's recent. You know Ronald Waddle, it's recent. You know of so many others who the PPP mowed down because they dared to criticize them. Tice 9 said making allegations. And what are those allegations, Tice 9s? Last week, or was it 2 Thursdays ago, when I first did the program and it said that Irfan must be impeached. Because the courts, Justice Gino Prasad has ruled that Irfan breached the Constitution when he suspended Paulson and the others from the Police Service Commission. When I did that program, about 20 past 12 that day, 2 young black men turned up at my gate. But I keep telling y'all, I'm not afraid, but I'm not stupid. I'm not afraid, but I'm not stupid. I just always look for trouble, so I just know when trouble coming. Thank the creators and the ancestors for their guidance. Those who know my place is situated will know. They came across the big bridge. I stepped out onto my patio and I recognized these people don't look regular. One short and squatty gave me a name and a number. The other one slender. In hot, broiling sun, as we like to say in Guyana. The slender one is, what you always call it? Level, it's not level up. Got on several, layered up, several layers of clothing. Several layers of clothing. In the hot, broiling sun. They didn't stand together. One stood behind the other, not directly behind, but behind the other. It's some amount of space in between them. And I engaged them from my patio. You know what I said I want? Well, that's the guys as far as I'm concerned. I want to join the WP. I'm paraphrasing the conversation. I come to Mr. Kiraki to join the WP. I just watched his program and I read some book and so I'm interested in joining the WP. Them girls like to say, red flag. You are speaking to Mr. Kiraki. But you don't recognize Mr. Kiraki. You are speaking to Mr. Kiraki, but you don't recognize Mr. Kiraki. Red flag. As they say, you think and you act quickly. And that is what I did. A name and number was provided to me. A name and number was provided to me by one of the individuals. The man claimed he lives in Sophia. Investigations turn out that the number that he gave me is not registered to a male person to start with. You hear me? Not registered to male. And not registered in Sapphire. Y'all hear what I say? The number that I was given was not connected to that name which was given to me. It was not registered in that geographic area which was given to me. As a matter of fact, it was registered to a woman in a community miles, maybe 20, 30 miles away. They are out there. They are out there. I took my time and I made them a study. After they left, I'm telling y'all, so y'all gonna know. After they left, I'm sure they must have seen cameras at the front of the building. I had enough time to sit down and study their approach and everything. And so I didn't come to a wild conclusion that they were here to do wickedness. Because I have them every step of the way with what they were doing. And so I'm sharing that with you now. And so since Miranda Brown and the others are listening, just alert your handlers that I'm not afraid, but I'm not stupid. And don't send back people at my place because they can't get for doing nothing. And why did I choose to talk about that now? Because the evidence is out there that the PPP and the PPP friends are on a rampage in this society to intimidate and murder people who dare to criticize them. You understand what I'm saying? Last night or early this morning was Kieran Bruce. For whatever reason, I don't know. But tomorrow it could be any other critic of the government or their friends. Last week yeah. I mean, a lot of y'all take this thing for granted, what we do as social media influencers, as y'all call us. Y'all remember last week, every time I came on, the program got disconnected. What was I talking about? Local government election. And the fact that a particular well-known individual was contesting the elections in Peters Hall area. Y'all remember that? Huh? Everybody started holding their head and bawling. Kidaki Amsterdam is what wrong with you, boy. Kidaki Amsterdam, why you gonna mention the man's name? Kidaki Amsterdam, you ain't frightened? Are we going to continue to live in fear and allow a small group of people a small group of people to lock us up in prisons, to keep us imprisoned mentally, because they have what it takes to intimidate us, and they got resources to hire mercenaries. Huh? The citizens have a responsibility to hold any government accountable. And part of that accountability, or the system for that accountability, is what they call the fourth estate in media. And whether or not you see us as part of the mainstream media, or not, we form part of the fourth estate. Critics of the government form part of the fourth estate. And they should be protected by any means necessary. Citizens, as we like to say, people's power, no dictator, citizens must take a stand in the society to hold the PPP, their friends, their cronies accountable. Ali must be impeached. He has breached the Constitution, and those constitutional breaches are continuing on a daily basis for every day that the Police Service Commission operates. Without a chairman from the Public Service Commission, the Police Service Commission is in breach of the Constitution, and that I can't remember who else wrote about it, but heresy, I think. And Granger should be impeached. What makes it different when Ali is the breacher of the Constitution? Serious breach of the Constitution. He should be impeached. And society must call, citizens must demand for him to be impeached. And if that is going to get me killed, so be it. WP has an office, it's in Queenstown and Irish Street. You want to join the WP, go to an Irish Street. Or WhatsApp me, don't come at my gate. As I'm going to suss you out. You know, I keep telling y'all, I am not afraid. But I like to add to that, I am not stupid. And obviously, if I think my observations are right in the Kieran Bruce issue with the vehicle, Kieran obviously is not stupid either. I don't know if the attackers have been identified or are caught on camera and so on in the incident with Bruce. But I can say that the evidence is out there, based on my observation, that they will use some of us. Some of us they will use. Or young men and women who we want to allow out there to accept $5,000 and a box of food with some free liquor, they're going to use them. They're going to use them. We have to be alert. We have to hold this cabal accountable. We have to stand on the side of right thinking and free-minded Guyanese who are recognizing what is wrong in this society and calling it out. No more can we sit back and watch our citizens being slaughtered. And as I'm telling you about these unconstitutional behavior and the friends and cronies of the PPP friends, family and favorites being protected in this society, let's drop a hint. A relative of a big one in government, was caught acting contrary to the law about 2 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? A relative of a big one in government was caught acting contrary to the law about 2 weeks ago and did not spend 20 minutes in the lockup. Did not spend 20 minutes in the lockup. Because you know what? Y'all know who in this government, y'all know who run in this country. That was the response of the relative of the big one. You're going to hear more about it. I'm sure you're going to hear more about it. But will you be surprised? I hope not. It is how the PPP runs government. Y'all remember Kiliman Lal? Where's Kiliman Lal? How many gun incidents he had? Never made a day appearance before the court. Y'all remember Ossie Rogers? That gun assault in Barbados and then he jumped on a flight and left the country? There are many others, I'm sure. There are many, many others. But we, the citizens, are the ones allowing it. Because in other countries, let me take for example, in the US recently, I think 3 senators, 3 black senators, or 3 senators representative of the Afro-American community, they were thrown out. Because on the floor of the Senate, they engaged in protest for gun control. They engaged in protest for gun control. They refused to follow whatever instructions of the speaker, whoever. They expelled them from the Senate. But they were standing up for the people. And once they were expelled, the people stood behind them. And are still standing behind them. In this society, your parliamentarians, as ineffective as you want to say they are, got expelled and not a Guyanese lifted a finger to stand with them. But we hear every day what they must do and what they must do and what they can do and what they don't do. What are the citizens of this country doing? TACUMA OGUNSEYE, a fighter from since they said Noah was a boy for democracy and good governance in this country, was arrested recently and placed in shackles like an old slave. How has the society reacted? Passively. I and the WPA are very thankful for those who have supported the TACUMA OGUNSEYE Defense Fund. That is about one aspect of activism to change a society. We want to see the others. Numbers upon numbers upon numbers of citizens must take to the streets of this country to demand fundamental changes that will improve their lives. You have the PPP rushing ahead with the local government elections that is fixed already. Citizens are doing nothing about it. You have for 3 years where the PPP has not offered public servants a dime in increasing wages and salaries to aid with this rising cost of living. Citizens are doing nothing about it. You have a public health care system that is falling apart. People are doing nothing about it. A law enforcement agency or agencies, the Guyana Police Force, and on a smaller note, perhaps the Guyana Defense Force. We know more about the Guyana Police Force than we know about the Guyana Defense Force. Corruption is running rampant. Citizens are not being protected and served, and nobody is doing nothing about it. But over in neighboring Suriname, they got Santoki and the run. Because they recognize them as dangerous to their democracy and accountability. And the citizens have taken to the streets. And international agencies have become involved. And his name is calling in cross-border crime. And they got thousands of documents where his name is mentioned in the commission of these crimes. But in Ghana, we got a man who Vice News has put information out there, alleges that he has been involved in corrupt practices, insider trading of government contracts, etc. A man who was scheming to sell a hotel that taxpayers' money built and saved from foreclosure to his friends and cronies, and Guyanese remain quiet about it. What's wrong with us? Where is our democracy? When will we stand and defend it? It's 70 minutes. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning.
Good evening. What is your name?
Morning, neighbor, morning. How are you doing? Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 12 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour on the 13th day of April in the year 2023. I recognize a lot of people telling me, they're trying with your program, Mr. Amsterdam. I'm here, they're trying, and they're going to try every day. Nothing new there. But will I give up? You see, you have to be as tenacious. That's a big word, by tenacious. What's the meaning of that word? Actually, finally. You have to be as tenacious as your opponents. Because if you can't be as tenacious as your opponents, then they are going to be winners. And you will be losers. Keep that in mind. Right? And so the harder they come, the harder they fall, they will keep coming, but we will keep fighting. I mean, God bless them. They got state resources. We have our own. What they call it? Crowdfunding. Yeah, for Randy Singh and the others, yeah, we just gotta ask people to get me a little thing via Zelle and what's MMG and so on and so forth. Yes, we do it. Because all are involved and all are consumed. And since no one of us has the kind of resources that any PPP associate enabler has,
when I'm finished,
we have to simply pool our resources like the ancestors did, brick by brick by brick, and so we will build a resistance. We will build a resistance. But we can only build a resistance if we remain tenacious, if we are committed to the cause, if we are determined not to give up, not 1 inch of one space, not 1 inch. And so we have to keep that in mind. Again, my intention is to talk with you this morning about local government elections and so on, but you have to be reminded every now and again about the struggles of your ancestors. And recognize that they didn't give up when Massa did beating them bad, and murdering them and putting them on the breaking wheel and all kinds of things and separating families and so on. They didn't give up. They stood up to Massa.
I was telling you.
Right? And because they stood up to Massa, we were able and still are able to enjoy a legacy. Trees without roots. As soon as we are reconnected. Yes, we are reconnected. Yes.
Good Lord. My apologies.
Very well, thank you.
And we are very grateful to be on with you and the diaspora this morning. We are having a symposium on Saturday the 15th at the Tipperary Hall at 3 p.m. And we will be discussing the bicentennial of the 1823 East Coast Demerara Revolution, along with, well, Dr. Guyana would tell you what his topic would be. Mr. David Jones, who is the chairman of the Emancipation Group Buxton, Emancipation Committee in Buxton. He will also be on the program with us, and he will be speaking on the update as far as the Emancipation Group is concerned. Brother Simpson da Silva will be on, and he is going to be the chairman for that event. And so he's going to tell you a little bit more about the program and his SDGs. Dr. Guyana will speak to you in a few moments, but I just want to say thank you very much for having me. Thank you for letting me let everyone know that this symposium is taking place. It is very important because we've been all along the East Coast in all the secondary schools from Mahaika to Georgetown. And we've been dealing with in some instances, we did all the students, but where the schools were very large, like the multilaterals, etc., we did the senior groups. And what we did, we spoke to them about African History Month, because this was done in February, as well as the 1823 East Coast Demerara bicentennial, because we realized, Brother Kadaki and other listeners, that 99% of the adults in Guyana know absolutely nothing about 1823 revolution, even though it was such an important one. So we thought that going into the schools to deal with the senior students, and then now to go into the villages to speak to the adults. So that is where we are at this point. And I'm very grateful. I will ask those in the diaspora who are listening this morning if they can reach out to their friends and families in Buxton and neighboring villages to come out on Saturday at 3 o'clock at Tipperary Hall. I thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
My brothers.
Go ahead, Dr. Rudy.
Hello, my brothers. That is, including Dr. Simpson. In addressing Saturday, I'd like to say this. Although Sister Pender mentioned that we're dealing with the bicentennial of the 1823 revolution, people may want to say, well, how can the reparation come into this? It is very important. we recognize that we as African people, there are two things missing. First of all, we take all the definitions of our oppressors and use it as if we agree totally with those definitions. By dealing with the reparations, we were able to deal with many of those definitions. For example, the most important definition in speaking to ourselves on Saturday is to let everybody know that, look, if we don't, there's somebody kicked in, but that's technology. But I'll continue to speak. Yes, the first definition is we were never slaves. So we bring that out on Saturday, what we mean by that. Because if we don't put ourselves in perspective, we wouldn't get the respect that we should get. So that's one thing. Another thing is that we want to make sure that we communicate with our people. We not communicate, when I say our people, with the very, what we call grassroots, the very people of the villages. What we'll be doing, Saturday is the kickoff, as Sister P mentioned. Saturday is the kickoff in order to get to the brains of our people, the ear of our people, because the ear is really the brain, to get to the brains of our people and let them know that, look, we can speak to each other, we can communicate with each other, we can respect each other. And even if we have disagreement in the communication, we'll bring it out because we have enough time on Saturday for questions and answers. So it will be we hope that everyone will come out. There's Dr. Simpson. He'll be chairing that first part. And chairing that first part, he'll be dealing with his favorite subjects. Because remember, as a chairperson, at each item, you bring that item in line with your ideas, your thoughts, etc. So Saturday will be a great day. Come out, everyone, on Saturday. We thank you, my brother, for having us really on this particular medium, because this is very important. And although we're speaking to people abroad, we would like the people abroad to, as Sister Penda said, to contact all your relatives here in Guyana and let them come out, especially those in Buxton, but not only to Buxton, but there are many on the line villages and also in Georgetown to come down, because Buxton people are very sociable people. So they welcome anyone there at Tipperary or on Saturday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Guyan.
I think it's my turn now.
Dr. Simpson, 1 minute. Let me say that while you're speaking to a large number of Guyanese in the diaspora, you're also speaking to a large number of Guyanese at home. And so do not run away with the what should I say, myth or the belief of the other people that we only talk to foreigners. Good? This is a Guyanese wherever you are program. Dr. Simpson, talk to us.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Kadaki. And I would like to give a shout out to my Guyanese brothers and sisters and Guyanese in the diaspora, wherever they are. And I know that we have Guyanese in all parts of the world. And I would like to indicate, as the two speakers before me said, that we will be not only dealing with the basics of 1823, but we will have a focus on the reparations story, because we know that African Guyanese have an unfinished agenda. And as a matter of fact, Africans throughout the world have an unfinished agenda. And we want to make sure that we educate the people with respect to that unfinished agenda, which is the whole issue of true reparation. Our reparation ought to be linked directly to the UN 2030 agenda, and we should be talking about a 2030 African Guyanese reparation story. That unfinished business must be dealt with now. And we feel that the best place to agitate, to bring awareness, and to speak to the people of the promotion of that need is from the villages with the grassroots. In other words, from bottom up. The reparation story, 1823, is connected to 1621, when we Africans came to Guyana. It is connected to 1966, 1763. It's connected to now. So we would have the opportunity of educating our people with respect to the need to understand our story. And it's we who have to tell our story. Our history must be by us, for us. So this is just a snippet of what is to come on Saturday. So please tell your friends, tell your family, brothers, sisters, wherever, let them come and join us in this movement towards the continued revolution for prosperity for all of us, including African Guyanese. We must be part of the struggle now.
Thank you. Let me ask this question. Bicentennial 200 years of 1823, what really, because I'm sure viewers, a lot of viewers are wondering, is what they're talking about 1823? What are we talking about? What is significant 200 years after 1823? What really happened?
Would you like me to answer that?
Well, I would like it to be answered.
Well, the significance of 1823 is that that is one of the largest revolutions in this part of the world at that time, in the Americas. It involved, depending on who's giving the narrative, approximately 100 plantations, which we call prison industrial complexes. And our foreparents decided that they had enough. But what has happened is that the struggles that they had, you know, at Batch's Adventure on the 20th, over 200 persons were massacred. And then the militia continued onto the plantations, even though they had retreated, and continued the massacres. Then our heads were placed on poles all along the East Coast Road, those that were killed. As a result of this, and you know, it's more than that, it came down to the parade ground, etc. But as a result of this, the struggles continued. The passive resistance, the burning of the fields, all the things that happened in 1823, as well as what was happening in the diaspora at that time, those things led to our emancipation. So 1823 is extremely significant for the people of Guyana and the diaspora as a whole, because it is because of those struggles, etc., that led us to the Emancipation Proclamation.
Thank you,
and
yes, Brother Ryan, go ahead.
Most importantly, again, I love to evaluate ourselves. It is good for every Guyanese and the world to know that the first defeat of an institution of capitalism was done by our foreparents in that same 1823 revolution. Yeah. Now, when they said they defeated our The plantation system was a system of capitalism, a very important system of capitalism. That's another thing. But enough is enough. I'll say this and no more. That we, when you come Saturday, we'll be able to explain to you how the 1823 was able to defeat, as I said, the very important institution of capitalism. And then nobody talks about that. Nobody talks our power and what happened after that and how we did it. So come Saturday and you will hear how we did it, how we as prisoners, not as slaves, did it.
Thank you, Dr. Dan.
Thank you very much.
Saturday is the symposium at Tipperary Hall. What time is it? What time on
3 o'clock.
Symposium? At 3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock on Saturday, we will be breaking through the roadways of silence. And we will deal with the issues now. Slavery, racism against African Guyanese is a legacy of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. And our people must get up, stand up, and do not give up their rights. We must fight for our rights. And the SDGs clearly state 17 different goals. And in those goals are embodied our rights. And we must educate our people. Now, we must be silent no more, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Dr. Simpson.
May I say something?
Yes, go ahead, Brother Guy.
May I say this in closing? Just briefly, do you know, I would like everyone to keep in mind that the time period we're talking about is between 1625 to 1833 or 1834, because proclamation. During that time, there was not a single Indian here. There was not a single Chinese here. There was not a single Portuguese here. And keep that in mind, because you're able to focus on who were the enemies and how we dealt with the enemies. So keep that in mind, what I've just said, that time period. And we were the only people doing anything during that period of time. So that we will focus on the enemy, know what the enemy was. So like that, we can really move ourselves through our problems.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you for coming on and telling us about this symposium Saturday at 3 o'clock at the Tipperary Hall, Buxton. Viewers, please come out. Encourage others to come out and learn more about the 1823 revolution. This is what we call, this is really the Demerara Rebellion, in case y'all didn't catch it, right? It's commonly called Demerara Rebellion. Good? Right, and that parade ground where I see plans are being made to develop all kinds of things, hey, that's sacred ground. We're going to talk about that next day. I'll have fun. See you on Saturday.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you, viewers, for listening to us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
And love.
Love.
Bye. You're free to go. Yes,
Bye-bye.
morning again. So y'all are still tuned to the Guyanese morning time. We just heard from Sister Pen, the Guyana, Dr. Rudy Guyana, and Dr. Simpson de Silva, telling us about that symposium, celebrating the 200th anniversary, basically, of the Demerara Rebellion. These are the kinds of things that you would want your children to attend, or the younger generation. You would want them to attend, and you, as older folks and adults, too, should find the time to attend and learn of your history if you are not aware of it. Right? I've been arguing over the years that we need more of these discourses so that our young people especially can have an understanding of the struggles of the ancestors and the sacrifices and how they were able to live this free life, as they want to call it, this easy life, you know. How much blood, sweat, and tears went before it? How much sacrifices were made? So if you can come out on Saturday at 3 o'clock at Tipperary Hall, please do. I can't promise you I will be streaming it. No, I can't. Saturdays have become tight because things are tight in the country, right? Yeah, morning again. You know, we like to say a mouth is muzzled by the food it eats. But we also like to say, it's 7:37, eh? We also like to say that who pays the piper calls the tune. And a lot of people are masquerading as independent, as impartial, my eyes, as unbiased, as patriotic, and all kinds of fancy adjectives they want to use them to describe themselves and their businesses. Good? And as we would say, trying to pull wool over our eyes. To believe that they're just paid to do their job and they're doing their jobs. And we should therefore accept what they say to us. Well, I saw recently that, what do they call him? A lobbying firm was hired by Mohamed to clear his name, to restore his character. Because somebody was out trying to assassinate the good man's character. Right? To be more specific, the U.S. government and government agencies perhaps are out to assassinate the man's good character. An upstanding businessman, an upstanding Guyanese businessman. Okay? And so in the quest, you know, the thing I love about us Caribbean people, and Guyanese in particular, is that regardless of how much we think we are kings in our own country, we cannot avoid dreaming of the day we would set feet or set foot on the American soil. You all know what I'm saying? Y'all understand anything that I'm saying? Regardless of how much king we believe we are in Guyana, regardless of how wealthy we believe we are, regardless of how powerful we believe we are in Guyana, one thing is certain: we will give an arm and a leg to set foot on the beautiful, beautiful soil of the U.S. And to some extent, Canada and the UK. But keep in mind, them say, one eye man, a king in blind eye country. And so when you see the behavior of some people who believe that they're big and they're powerful in Guyana and so on, you look around Guyana, you realize that it's a shithole country. You realize that what rules the land is tyranny. You realize that it is corruption day in, day out. You realize that it's bullyism and intimidation day in, day out. You realize that it is extrajudicial killing. Day in, day out. And so you realize that you live in a country where there are really no democratic principles and there is no rule of law. And so even those who are benefiting, even those who are benefiting from the lawlessness, from the tyranny, from the corruption and extrajudicial killing and everything, even they would like to leave the shores of this country and go to a place where there's law and order, even if for a brief vacation. And some man was touted to be one of the richest, one of the biggest, most respectable businessmen in Guyana, Mohamed, has had to resort to hiring a lobbying company to clear his name. Well, the question is, has his name been cleared? Has his name been cleared? You know, they say, oh, what a tangled web we weave when we first try to deceive, or something to that extent. Right? There's a tangled web being weaved in the attempt to restore the character of Mohamed, who, by the way, I mentioned to you last week or sometime, is now a candidate, or will soon be a candidate for local government elections. I think he's contesting on the East Bank. Right? These banks somewhere within the limits of the city, perhaps, I understand, because word on the street is that he's trying to become the mayor of Georgetown. And I'm sitting and I'm saying, well, if becoming the president of Guyana can make you use the resources of the country as you like for your good friends, favorites, and families. Right? Who is to say that I can't become the mayor of Georgetown to use the resources of the city as I see fit also? Good? Think about that. And so, in my fairness, when I share, I like to share in fairness. Sometimes I get partisan. Here is a Demerara News article, in case you didn't catch it. And this was done on the 12th. This was done yesterday. Mohamed hires U.S. firm to push for American visa approval. Contrasting views weren't pursued. Contrasting views weren't pursued. A Washington, D.C. based lobbying firm on Tuesday said the United States Department and the American Embassy here have been told that there was no. I can only dispel the concerns about the allegations, and if they want to refuse Mr. Mohamed's visa, then they will give another reason why. We are saying that the reason, because who last traveled to the U.S. in about 10 or 12 years, has had visa in the past, but they have expired, and his latest application never overstayed his visa, and so forth. But there had been allegations about him with terrorism, gun running, drugs, and so on, and so forth. And so we wanted to get that out of the way and see what happens, he added. The BGI official presented an almost 1.5-page document to Demerara Waves of what he said was a sort of an executive summary of the report that was filed with the State Department. However, that document made no reference to alleged smuggling of 10,000 ounces of gold worth US $11.5 million that were stolen from a boat in Curacao in 2012, or alleged trade of gold that ends up in the hands of Hezbollah Lebanese Shia political party and militant group. Mr. Locke said those two allegations have been addressed in the larger report to the State Department, but a number of the persons who had knowledge about that occurrence were either dead, retired, or employed elsewhere. BGR Principal Joseph Lyle said the report could be used by Mr. Mohamed's immigration lawyer, Carl Risch, and Assistant Secretary of State for Consular Affairs at the State Department in the U.S. to challenge the status of his visa application. Quote, "We believe that this report provides the substance that would have for Mr. Mohamed's attorney to engage in the administrative conversations with the State Department," end quote, Mr. Lyle said. Mr. Locke said he had asked the FBI and the Drug Enforcement Administration whether they wanted to speak with Mr. Mohamed, but they had said they were not. He said he was yet to contact the Department of Treasury. The BGI official said his team did not conduct a forensic examination of Mr. Mohamed's business operations to ascertain whether he was telling the truth, but was convinced that they were above board. Open quote, I never saw the need to, based on his willingness to be so transparent, but brushed aside a suggestion that Mr. Mohamed might be faking him. I don't think so. There are a lot of things that you can tell about a person when you talk to him. End quote, said Mr. Locke, a retired agent of the US FBI. Mr. Locke said he had no concrete information about Mr. Mohamed, about why Mr. Mohamed was no longer being allowed to travel to the US. Quote, I didn't get any inside information from the State Department. I can only surmise that it is because of the allegations, and as people who talk to the State Department, attorneys and so on and so forth, who are actually working on the visa case said, a lot of these allegations were up in the air and that they were not comfortable with making the decision in Guyana, he said. The 1.5-page document presented to the media sought to exonerate Mr. Mohamed from any role in the gunning down of Ricardo Paper Shorts Vagundes in March 2021. Quote, an independent investigation by the regional security system confirmed that there was no evidence of corrupt practices or attempt to cover up the probe, end quote. BGR in its statement, said BGR in its statement. Policeman Dion Bascom, shortly after he was arrested with several other persons during a cocaine seizure, had alleged that a senior police officer had been paid Guyana $30 million to cover up the killing of Vagundes, a close associate of convicted Guyanese drug kingpin Shahid Roger Khan. Like Attorney General Anil Nandla's recent news release on the subject, BGR referred to an investigation that was conducted by the regional security system. Though President Irfan Ali had in August 2022 said that regional body would have conducted a review of the police force investigation into the incident. Questioned repeatedly about whether the RSS conducted an investigation, he said yes, and added that I saw a copy of the summary, not the entire file. Concerning the president's talk of a review, he considered that I'm not aware of that specific statement. He also relied on a timestamped video that showed that a specific employee of Mr. Mohamed being elsewhere at the time of the murder. Some comments by acquaintances and business partners of Mr. Mohamed. Mr. Locke confirmed hearing that the allegations implicating Mr. Mohamed in that incident had been made by a business competitor, but said he did not speak with anyone associated to that person. No, because I felt very comfortable with the investigation that had been done by the Regional Security Service. And they looked into the murders and the accounts by Detective Bascom, he said. BGR appeared to rely on several background checks that it said had been conducted on Mr. Mohamed by foreign oil sector companies such as EXxonMobil, Halliburton, ChampionX, Slina Drilling, Peterson Energy, Logistics, Aramco, and Baker Hughes. Mr. Mohamed has been vetted by all of the groups and businesses with whom he has done business, the statement says. Mr. Locke said he knew that those companies had conducted background checks on Mr. Mohamed, quote, because I've talked to them. As late as 1 month ago, and specifically about his client, and a lot of them have said they have heard the allegations, but when they looked into it, they didn't find anything of substance. Man, this story long, man. Right? I guess you want to hear, right? Good. So let me continue. BGR in its summary of the report said that all, quote, all relatives, friends, employees, business associated, and government officials interviewed lauded Mr. Mohamed as a person and as an executive. None believed the allegations against him. Asked whether he really expected those people not to laud him, Mr. Locke has restated that I would expect them, based on my conversation with them, they would give me an honest and fair evaluation. As I told you, I'm not looking to whitewash Mr. Mohamed. I am looking to get the truth. What I have found is that there has been no real official investigation of Mr. Mohamed. He has never been arrested. He has never even received a citation. And a lot of the allegations are really fantastical, he said. But Mr. Locke said he did not find anyone in Guyana with potentially opposing views that he wanted to speak with, because he did not have a reasonable expectation that the view would be true. Quote, I found several that I didn't think that I needed to talk to for other reasons, and that would be the due diligence that I did on those individuals. End quote, he said. He claimed that there were specific investigations about those persons who had issues, but he declined to provide examples. No examples, he said. The BGI official admitted hearing that Mr. Mohamed has a cozy relationship with the PPP-led administration, but said that that was, quote, kind of strange, because the businessman has contributed to both political parties, stayed out of the political fray, and supports whichever government that is in power. Quote, you will never see him promoting one party over the other. He's very pragmatic, and he's not affiliated with either party. End quote, he said. When told that Mr. Mohamed is a candidate for the PPPC in the June 12, 2023 local government elections, Mr. Locke defended that, saying that the businessman, quote, has taken on a greater role in government, end quote, being the head of his homeowners association, Mr. Lai said a background check on Mr. Mohamed was not aimed to make him out to be a perfect individual, but to illustrate that all of the allegations have, quote, enough weaknesses in them that it's not enough to deny Mr. Mohamed a visa to the United States, end quote. On the issue of the trade in illegal gold from Venezuela, Mr. Locke said Mr. Mohamed did not have any offices in the area where those alleged transactions took place. Quote, his books are open as far as the daily and the weekly and the monthly reportings at the Gold Board. It complies with all the regulations. He has always been transparent, which gives me a little bit of confidence too. That he's always willing to open up his books and say, you, look, he said. The document states that his reports are all required by the Bank of Guyana, Financial Intelligence Unit, and the Guyana Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. BGI said Mr. Mohamed has accounts with all banks in Guyana, and he was required to pass Know Your Customer inquiries to comply with American Know Your Customer guidance and guidelines. Months ahead, Mr. Mohamed and his son had been handing out donations and other goodies to mostly underprivileged Guyanese. That is the story from the Marara Waves. Right? Well, like I say, who pays the piper calls the tune. If I pay you to make me look good, then you would have failed if you couldn't make me look good. I said I wasn't getting value for my money. How was that? Bobby Barrington said the lobbyist is singing for his money. If I were the lobbyist, well, the word lobbyist suggests what I am supposed to do. I would lobby with all the might in my body because Mohamed can afford to pay my fee. Right? And if I don't want to find anything bad about Mr. Mohamed, I will not go looking for anything bad about Mr. Mohamed. Or I will not go where it is likely I will hear anything bad about Mr. Mohamed. Because I understand, at least in my mind, how these guys operate, or how they are expected to operate. If you do the interview and you hear bad things, then you're obligated to mention them in your report. You know what I'm saying? If you do the interview and you hear bad things, you're obligated to mention them in your report. Otherwise, your credibility becomes questionable. And so I might as well avoid talking to people right? Who will say bad things about my client? There's that thing the army and so on does. Don't ask, don't tell. Right? And need to know. There's a reason why those positions are adopted. Plausible deniability. If the U.S. investigators, for example, were to provide evidence to show, here, how you're saying this man is so crispy clean, and we have Tom Jones saying that he was responsible for smuggling 10,000 ounces of gold to Curacao. And not only is Tom Jones saying so, but here Tom Jones has presented evidence. Then Mr. Locke can simply say, well, you know, I never heard of Tom Jones. I never had the opportunity to speak to Tom Jones to become acquainted with this kind of information. And so I can only report on what I was privy to. Huh? So we all know in Guyana, Mr. Shell Mohamed, Nazar Shell Mohamed, is an upstanding, extremely successful businessman. He trades in gold and I would say precious minerals. I don't know the correct use, but he sells guns and so on. Or part of his business is supplying the military. I don't know. Was involved in the murder of Paper Shorts. I can't remember anywhere in this country at any time. Sometimes I get my facts mixed up too, but that is what I'm thinking. So Mr. Locke would be very accurate in saying that there's nothing to say, well, Nazar Mohamed had anything to do with this murder of Paper Shorts. And it is also fair to say that Mr. Locke's investigation had nothing to do with the murder of Paper Shorts or the alleged mastermind of the murder of Paper Shorts, because Nazar Mohamed was never identified nor called nor alleged to be. I don't know if I'm focused here, but that's what I'm thinking. But the very Locke report identified, right? The Locke report identified what? It identified allegations of gold smuggling, and I'll tell you honestly, I was quite surprised to see that 10,000 ounces of gold that went to Curacao being tied to Mr. Mohamed. Because for years everybody is wondering where the gold come from. We never knew, at least I never knew. So even the Locke's report is saying a lot to Guyanese that we were perhaps not even privy to as allegations against Mr. Mohamed. It's the first time, I'm being very honest, it's the first time I've ever heard of a Guyanese going that distance to take a lobbying firm to clear their names so that they can mainly get a U.S. visa. This man is king in this country. We have studied the U.S. for. Some of us don't know where they're good. Good? Some of us leave the comfort of our country and go and walk into a hornet's nest like that around. Good? But when the Bronx say, people say, when you're there good, stay good. Talk about politics and WP. You see, that's the thing with me. I usually say this. So. Betsy Free said this is so low. What are you talking about, Betsy? I usually say when you're making certain comments, I want the clarity so I will know if I have to respond or explain anything. As quote-unquote social media influencers, as members of the Fourth Estate, as media people, as analysts, as commentators, we are not really allowed to pick our fights, if you want to call them fights, you know. We speak on society. We speak on the good and the bad and the ugly of society. And so am I putting myself in a bad spot, according to Miranda, by analyzing a report which is published by Demerara Waves about a leading businessman in our Guyanese society. This is a family that every Tom, Dick, Harry, Jones, who finds themselves in difficulties, turn to for assistance. Just the other day, I think 3 ordinary rank and file Guyanese got motor cars from this family. Wouldn't you want to have an interest in a family that is as benevolent as this one? Let me ask you this here. How many of you follow the lives of superstars, big shots, super rich people in the US, Canada, UK, and so on? A whole lot of you could tell me the whole history of Beyonce and Rihanna and so on and so forth. Because you follow stories about them. And you analyze stories about them. Maybe not for the public digestion. But that's what I do. And so because I am analyzing a story, about Nazar Shell Mohamed are coming out, I'm a good spot. Yeah, they're good, stay good. Talk about politics and WP. But Mr. Nazar Mohamed has indicated that he is part of the political scenery of Guyana. He is now a candidate for a political party. And in case you think it's a make-up story, look it on the screen. Where is it? Look it on the screen. This is a free plug. Look at there. There's a post as part of the Demerara Wave story. And it says, local government elections 2023, vote Nazar Mohamed. Right? Equality and justice for all. Leadership that you can trust. PPC candidate Eccles Ramberg's constituency. Dedication, action, community. Nazar Shell Mohamed. You want me to address these 3 adjectives? Dedication, action, community. The man has certainly displayed a community spirit. He helps people when they go to him. or to his business enterprise, they can receive a lot of help. Like I just said, just last week or so, they give 3 needy persons, perhaps 3 ordinary citizens, motor vehicles. We have seen up and down the coast where his son, maybe representative of him, maybe representative of the family business, has been up and down the coast giving out goodies to people who are in need. James Bond can attest to that because he had him in Melanie at one point in time. I think fixing a ground. Right? So here is, let's analyze. Miranda Brown said talk politics. Let me stick to the political aspect of Shel Nazar. Here is somebody who is offering themselves to local leadership as a politician in the Eccles-Ramberg's constituency for starters, as a candidate of the PPPC, but is displaying desperation to leave a country, even for vacation, governed by the PPPC. Can you really want to follow somebody like this? Because they're saying it at the same time, right? They're saying, I want to be out of here, even if it's for a vacation. But I'm supporting the government, the party of the day. To me, as they say, it's double speak. You're talking from 2 sides of your mouth. It's like, why I would like to get out of this place. This place is a real shithole. But y'all must stay. And let me join the leadership that got this place as a shithole. Y'all understand that? Listen, the man, I tell you the truth. I have never, listen, I've heard conversations about Shel Mohamed. I never ever knew who it was until this poster came out. And somebody, in fact, I saw a newspaper article saying that Nazar Shel Mohamed is contesting the elections. And then from the article, I learned really and truly who is Nazar Shel Mohamed. And it's like catching when a citizen of a country hires an international lobbying firm to restore, repair, protect their character, whatever it is. Right? It raises eyebrows. Everybody wants, what? Who is he by? Why he can go this distance? And you know what else is also eye-catching? The investigator says that he was contacted by the ambassador to the United States of Guyana. The ambassador to the United States of Guyana is Mr. Sam Hines. Mr. Sam Hines, like let's see Ramsamy did with Shahid Rajakan, has distanced himself from the statement by Mr. Locke. Sam Hines said, not me. I never made any contact with this lobbyist group on behalf of Mr. Mohamed. I don't know anything about that. So here's another red flag, another red herring, another reason for curiosity. Why is Sam Hines distancing himself from this investigation? Why? So, we must not analyze these things for the public's benefit. Why? I just analyze God. Right? The man I wake up, man, what happened to you, man? How you gonna deal with me, sir? Yes, so I ain't gonna be imprisoned by fear or your fear. Or your fear for me, Miranda. I said I'm going to talk about local government elections. This is a part of the local government election discussion. Because the reality is this. Local government is about you. The rank and file citizens of this country, they name it local government because, as the name suggests, local. Local government brings government closer to the people. It's closest to the people in the communities. It is where people get to see the leaders in their communities. It is where people get to see people like themselves, people who live in their environment, representing their interests at the level of government. Are you following me? When you talk about local government, it is governance or government which gives the people access to their leaders or their representatives at the local level. Local government is most effective when you can wake up in the morning and you know that on your way to work, are you following me? That's local government. And so, to engage their local leaders, their local representatives, representative on the council. And you, how many of you know who the people are that will be representing you at this next local government election, or will be contesting this next local government election to represent you? How many of you know them? Have you made them a study? Have you studied their character? Can they be trusted? Have their names been around associated with corruption, associated with crime, associated with racism over the years? How are they seen in your community? Do you ever see them in your community? On weekends, for example, when they're not at work in Georgetown, do you see them walking around your community? Do you see them engaging in self-help? Do they contribute to the development, growth and development of your community? These are all questions you need to ask yourselves when you're considering local representatives to the local government election. The people of Eccles Ramsburg, for example, I wonder how many of them know who Shell is. I wonder how many of them get to rub shoulder with him on a daily basis by passing in the same community. In Buxton, for example, I'm not sure of the names of the people who are contesting as yet. I don't know whose banner they're contesting, but I'm looking to see who the contestants will be. But what I know, the PPP is funding a lot of them in Buxton. A lot of them who claim they're independents. It's PPP funding y'all, I know that. And I'm waiting when the names are published so I could publish them on my program too. And we're going to analyze them too. Listen, some people don't know when to stop. Some people don't know when to stop. A man who sat at the Buxton Falls NDCS chairman for about 40 years. Sat there for as long as the PPP was not doing local government elections. Yes, eh? Has been accused of so many screw-ups. as chairman of the Buxton Falls NDC, his name has been called in all kinds of things, allegations and so on. I'm not his parent, but I'm sure that man past retirement age. Long now. And ever so often I could see this man hustling to go and sit down with the PPP to talk about local government elections. And you know what aggravates me? Is that wherever this local government election discussion is taking place, they always got a bottle of rum or two. That's how a black man over do. Drink free rum and sabotage the others. God, man. Pay attention to what's happening in your neighborhood with the people who want to lead you. Just do that. Analyze them. Don't be afraid to analyze them. They ain't God. Even Jesus Christ the Savior was analyzed by who? Caesar. And then because they thought he wanted a worldly kingdom. So who are we? Or the others that they can be analyzed? Fellow Women's Party 8 o'clock no time. Call, let's talk about them, man. I don't think I want to be nasty to Mr. Mohamed or nasty about Mr. Mohamed. Somebody sent me somebody sent me a note just last week about Mr. Mohamed, and it's none of my business. Oh, he started in business and so on. Why you got to do with that? I talk in politics. I don't know what's wrong with you. The lines are open, man. 6225933 is the number to call. While we're waiting for you to call, let me remind you, Dr. Ram has indicated his intention before he left this country. You know, sometimes you live in so much torment that it is best to face a judgment and be free of it. A couple years ago, Roger Khan couldn't walk freely, Roger Khan couldn't travel freely, Roger Khan could do nothing freely. Because he had all these allegations on his head from the United States government and locally and so on. He was sent back to the US against his will. But he went and he had his day in court. And he has paid the price for his alleged infractions in the United States of America. He came back home, and all those who were talking about all the ills they accused him of doing locally, not a day did he spend in jail. Not a day did he spend in jail. Because they had no case to prove against him. Sometimes it's just you deal with your tormentors and done. And so Dr. Ram probably got fed up again. Dr. Ram, as far as I understand, is considered one of the richer persons in the Guyanese society, one of the more connected persons in the Guyanese society. But instead of living here in that freedom and that connection and those riches, he preferred to take his chance and go to the US, knowing very well that he might be arrested and thrown behind bars. He preferred to do that. Does that suggest to you that this country is a nice place? Does it suggest to you that people are comfortable, even those who are among the moneyed class and connected, are willing to risk their freedoms to get out of here? Have you recognized that? And so Dr. Ram is in the US, and as I remember, I saw him on an interview with Travis Shea some time ago, saying that anytime he were to be held for certain things, which he admitted basically he was involved in, locally especially, he was going to be calling names. 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 He Yes, blackout down here. Those of you who are still on the live, it's blackout. Betsy Free says no. I don't know what she's talking about. Right, but it's blackout here. And so, true to form, Dr. Ram is now in custody in the US. And there's an article out there, I think it's on Starbuck News, that says that he is in negotiation. I think the phone rang just now, but I didn't. It's on silent or something. He is in negotiations with the US authorities. And so he's going to face his time. He's going to do his time, perhaps. He's going to face his judgment. Whatever it is. And then he's going to be a free man. Right? Then he's going to be at least free from those allegations which he's facing in the US. Voice note.
Kadaki, I listened to the program yesterday and said they have eyes on you. Okay, I'm going to say something now. When I was coming back home to America, they targeted me at the airport. I was actually going in the plane when they called me and tell me I have to come and check my baggage. Open it up, the suitcase. I go and I open up it. But I had a pack of custard powder inside, 4 bottles, small bottle of molasses, and a bottle of pepper. So the guy come to me when I bought the suitcase. They had a black dog there. And he come to me and tell me, where am I living? I said, tell him, how old am me? I tell him my age. And he write it down in a book. So I told and tell him in front of the girl that take me there. I said, I am not no drugs dealer. I don't fetch drugs. I told him so. And the dog smelled the suitcase. And I had to go back to the plane. That's number 1. Number 2. I was one of the model. I put it up enough time on Facebook that out of the 1,400 people, Afro-Guyanese that die, I was one of the model. What my son gets shooting 21 years old. He was the boy about 14 or 16 years back, was get shoot on the stand in America Street. He was just going into 21 when they shoot him. I put up on the Facebook. But when you speak the truth of these people here, they get annoyed with you and want to target you. That is what go on with me. I told my friend everything I told my trainer, but I was keeping a still tongue a little bit. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that voice note. There's another one.
Good morning. This is water more than corn flour. Sometimes got to distance himself because he sees trouble coming. And the thing is that if you listen when Mark called Sam Hines last night and he was speaking to him, at one point in time, Sam said he know not need distance himself from the whole situation. Then another when Mark keep talking to him, he said, oh, somebody called him. He know the voice of the person, but he can't remember and all heap of nonsense. It's a whole thing. They put Sam Hines in it, and he behind gonna get recall and might catch jail. And the thing, I was always saying why this man is not traveling to the US with
talking just now. There's how these show back in some other well, whereby you're wrong. They got to use the brute force and ignorance because you know why the truth there's always hurt. The truth always hurt. But I got a message that for the opposition leader advice is that when they had the election, the general election, couple months before, long before, Barjagdio walking around and telling everybody that he going back inside the day. And the reason why he could attack so is because the set shot done being there. This time, talking about winning in local government election, something what they never like. They never like though. They looking for control Linden, Georgetown, and New Amsterdam, which is the stronghold for the coalition. What is beat them up? They just use them three and clean them up. Jack the tagged because they know about the set shot. Look this banner Anil Gedin's position we get at GECOM. Look at what we did do in the recount. He's the man who carry away the server. Now, what grounds Mr. Norton, Amanza Walton, this guy who is the I forget this liar guy who is in the coalition. What grounds y'all think as the big wigs in the APNU? What grounds y'all think y'all could ever think about winning an election when all them things set up there before your eyes? Y'all got to wake up. Y'all got to jump on the bandwagon of what the WPA is saying, what Kadaki saying, what the AFC saying, that we're not taking part in any local government elections. These people don't set this thing, and they're gonna be bad for no. That when you see they don't set it and you go into there and you lose, then you come on press conference for say you're telling people about how the rig and how the wicked and how the this and that, something what we don't know already. You understand? And they're not gonna looking good. Plus, it's giving them the strength for go with the same messed up list into general election because they will say it used in the local government election. So all who in support of local government elections on the coalition side, the opposition people who in support of it, you are making a sad mistake. The nastiness done set out already. It's not that we can't win it, but the nastiness won't allow we to get a fair judgment inside it. So we got to jump on the bandwagon and rally behind the sound, the true sound we're coming out, we're hearing, is that we got to be civil disobedient and create the uprising for don't make that local government election go through. Don't make it go through. Remember, the PPP do not like local government election. They've been in there for how much years and they never support them. They're coming now, they're jumping on the bandwagon now for support it because, you know why? They don't do the cooking up. They don't set. Look the condition of GECOM. Look what knuckleate with. How we think that we gonna ever get past all of them? Which side we thinking? We got open here and come to his senses, Mr. Norton, or anybody who listen, tag Mr. Norton and tag all them. What they was talking about local government election, tag them and let them know that when it's done, they're not gonna come on no ear for telling nobody not about who rig and who this and who that, because we don't know that is the doing. We don't know everything done set. Everything done set, so don't send out the warning. I not gonna jump on no social media and jump on no what the thing name. no platform for tell nobody about PPP nasty and this and everybody don't know the wicked stink and dirty. And if you are going through it, don't see what's going on at GECOM there. They will Vincent Alexander talking and them thing. And you are still say, but are you going in local government election thinking you are going to get any fear outcome there? Is lie. Jag, you done set. The nastiness done set inside of there. So we better open your eye and get conscious, people. We better open your eye and get conscious. Good. Have a good day, my brother.
Thank you for your call. What does the government have to lose? There was a caller before I before I took this one. And with all fairness, let me see if I can get him back. Hey, sorry about the disconnect just now. You're live.
That's all right. That's all right. I had to call because this one is a little long. You talked about the diamond stuff, the drug stuff in not the drug, the gold stuff in Curacao, right? With Shell Mohamed, right? And you were kind of surprised that his name was called. As you know, I lived in Bahamas for 13 years. People should know that Bahamas was a drug. The economy ran on cocaine smuggling for a good portion of time. I've encountered a lot of people in it, right? In 1993, I had to go to Bimini to do a job for a drug kingpin. This man, at the time when Roger was reigning, he was reigning too. This man had 3 Aztec plane. You know, every day he flew me on a crew there. Guy was heading the crew, flew me there to set up his ice factory that was left stalled by people who could not have done it. So when I got over there, you know, the first day, second day, I make my assessment and thing. I was coming home on vacation. So the man turned to me and said, "Where you from? How you going on vacation?" I say, "I'm from Guyana." He said, "Whoa, me and your best friends. So I want to like how you did your assessment and so on of what got to get done. I believe in you. Me and you going to turn good friends." The man said, "I would like you to do something for me." So I look at him, right? And he said, "You know, I could send you to some banners who just do diamond, who could get some diamonds for me." And he called a particular name. And that particular person in the racing arena, his daughter had got clapped in Canada. I was left surprised. This is a man that never traveled to Guyana. You understand me? And when he called that name, I was like, whoa, this thing is deep. Yep. And this is a man who had plenty. He had it plenty. I had to work on his yacht that had gold-plated rails. Right? So now hearing the story with Shell Mohamed and them jumping around and bouncing around and what's not, nobody should be surprised. These banners, you know, the movie Blood Diamonds, yeah, that will tell you. And if you could remember, one time the head of the gold board had said that the amount of diamonds and gold in Guyana is declaring we can never ever mind that. The same thing happened with the diamonds that were smuggled to South Africa from Botswana. You see? So these fellas were there talking, we ain't jokers. We ain't fully done. So let them know people are on to them. And Sam Hines must remember there's a name by Shimwell. Roger Tan's lawyer. So if you want to end up like Shimwell, let him dance. Right? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, caller. Caller, live.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Kadaki. Good morning, everyone in diaspora. Good morning, all Guyanese. I agree with the last caller. If I am on sync, he was talking about local government and the problems. A few days ago, I was watching Politics 101 with Dr. Hines and Comrade Vincent Alexander. And Mr. Vincent Alexander was saying something, he said a few very enlightening things. One of which dealt with this local government problem that Comrade Norton has been pushing, rightfully so. And it's the issue of the padded list. And we have a dilemma whereby Comrade Norton wants to go to elections, and even though he has acknowledged that there are obvious problems, he thinks he should go ahead. Now, let me make a suggestion based upon what Comrade Vincent Alexander said as a commissioner in GECOM. He said on Politics 101 that the evidence which we have today refutes the legitimacy of Claudette Singh's previous ruling while she was judge, when she upheld the constitutionality or the legitimacy of the padded list. Mr. Alexander has presented inside information, and that's what's critical. If someone was to come from heaven and say, hey, I saw Bob Marley and Tupac Shakur in heaven, you got reason to believe. My point is that Mr. Alexander is working inside of GECOM, and his testimony is indisputable, and we can use his testimony as evidence. I think that's partly, largely, one of the reasons why he said what he said. To inform the public what we ought to be doing and what can be done. Now, for those of us who wish to take something to court, we need to say to Comrade Norton that this is something that needs to be done. There is sufficient evidence here. And if we strike while time is on our side, I hope it is, then we can ask for an injunction. Because the evidence coming from Vincent from within. You see, Vincent is not a market vendor. He's working inside a GECOM. So it's credible, indisputable evidence. Then you've got Vincent, and you've got Trotman, and you've got Corbin. These are all commissioners who I think will testify to the veracity or the accuracy of what Mr. Vincent has just testified to on the Politics 101 show. It is evidence. It stands as evidence. He is making a proposal of evidence to us. Now, so for Roysdale Ford or any one of us, now any private citizen can move for an injunction on local government elections, because Vincent Alexander also went to say this in that very same show, that the system, Mr. Vincent Alexander did point to that. He did explain that hey, confidence is out the window. On a local government level, you tell me a court is not going to have to act on that? With this, to protect what we already have, gains which we already have. Well, here is a way to protect those gains. You ask the court for an injunction based upon evidence that just came out of GECOM. That is also a way to protect gains, Comrade Norton, to move to the court for an injunction. Once again, thank you for listening. I won't take too much of your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call you live. Good morning.
Hi, Kalafi.
You're live. Good morning.
You hear it? Yeah, why Coffee don't file injunctions? Your producers do. We just keep talking. Why you don't file it?
Listen, when y'all call me and with that kind of attitude, I'm going to disconnect you. I'm tired of this fight with y'all. Who should do what and who shouldn't do what. Advice is part of the fight. Advice is part of the fight. If Kofi think he had the capacity to file injunction, I guess he would have, because he believe it's worthwhile. Right? Sometimes we, every component makes a system works. Let me play a voice note. A question was asked of me just now. I might answer it just now for you.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. I sit here every morning and I listen to your program, brother. And all I heard you guys talk about all the time is this local government election, and the federal election is going to come up. You know what the funniest thing is? Is that no one remembering history. Look at the Haitians' revolution. Look at the French Revolution they had. Look at the British Revolution they had. The same thing in South Africa. Look at all of these country fight that they had. Election, brother, does not change nothing. It's a joke to vote for these anywhere you are in the world. Even the Americans' revolution, you look at it. The Russians, if you look at it, the Russians' revolution, let's talk this history. It's not voting change these things. It's the people had to pick up arms and get out on the street and do what they had to do. And who die, die. Who survive, survive. But I say, Comrade Norton, you have to be an idiot and a donkey to go to a local government election with that list. You remember a few, like 4 weeks ago, a guy called in and said, do you know this company who is doing the voters list? They're not who they say they are. That man was on the money. Those people are part of PPP, sponsored by the Mohamed. They're all big collusion is taking place. So what I'm trying to tell my people in Guyana, go and look your history. Look the history. You cannot change these things by election. Election does not count. It does not. You got to get up and go out there and let these people know, say, you're tough and you're ready for this. Have a good day, my people. Wake up, black people. All those little idiots that sit at the hits and jam. Don't listen to those guys, man. Those guys at hits and jams are idiots. All of them. They get the tail ending of everything and they think they're on top.
Morning, Kadaki. The caller would just call and say that we shouldn't take part in local government. You can't allow, if the coalition don't take part or the PNC don't take part in local government, the PPP will take over all the constituency. It's not if and but. We cannot sit down and allow these people to just take over everything. We still got to try. Our ancestors was trying and trying. Although they were losing, they still had to try. They couldn't give up. So the PNC got to go into the local government election. They got to. We cannot sit down and allow the PPP to take over the local government election and do what they want. We still have to be there. We know that they're going to rig it or whatever, but the PNC have to be there. There's no if and but. So if that caller want to sit down and say, okay, they're going to do it, people are not coming out to rally. He's saying that people should come and do this. People are not coming out. So we got to do what we got to do.
Vice Note.
Hi, good morning, Kadaki. I was listening to the report that you read this morning with respect to Mr. Mohamed. I think that report is basically for the local Guyanese audience and not for the international community. My question is, what contact did Mr. Mohamed and the Muslim organizations had with Adnan Shukra, the known Al-Qaeda terrorist that was hiding in Guyana? That is my great concern. What contact did he have with Adnan Shukra? And the Americans will not deny you a visa based on some foolishness, but something is happening around here. Don't believe that the Americans don't know who the movers and shakers are in Guyana. They are well aware of it. They have satellite images and telephone calls. So they can run and get all sorts of people to try to clear them. But the Americans have satellite images and telephone records. You look, how do they kill the terrorists in Pakistan and in Afghanistan? They use satellite images. How did they get back to Osama bin Laden? Satellite images. So they have satellite images on Guyana. They know who the movers and shakers are in Guyana. And it's just a matter of time before the whole pack of cards start falling.
Thank you for that voice note.
Good morning, Kodaki listeners. I know if you watched Benchcap program last night, but they put our minds deep in it. They put our minds deep in it there. Must check it out.
Well, thank you for those voice notes. It's 5 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. I did say there are some questions that have been asked of me and I might reply. Let me start with one. Somebody said, let me just ask, who stands to lose if the PNC doesn't partake in local government elections? Something to that extent. Let me find it. Or what does the PPP stand to lose? I want to get the exact question, you know. And you all see it? You could remember what it was? All right, let me give my 2 cents here. What does the PPP stand to lose? If the PNC and other parties do not take part in the local government election, they stand to lose what they're trying to gain. What are they trying to gain? Legitimacy. I'm trying to get some. Man, I just didn't feel like I ain't never put on no generator right now. I'm hoping GP I would have come on back already. Yeah. The PPP stand to lose what they're trying to gain. From 2020 to now, the biggest challenge to the PPP is to say that they are a legitimate government. Yeah? They would like to have the ability to say that they are a legitimate government. The opposition has not accepted them as legitimately in office. It is why they are refusing to engage with the opposition. It is why they are refusing to engage with Norton. It is why they are behaving in such a dictatorial way, because they are trying to force the opposition to say, all right, you are legitimate, come let's talk. Okay, we are not going to get the opposition to accept us as a legitimate government. We have to find other ways and means of getting that legitimacy. Another option which is available to us is local government elections. Yeah, we don't like local government elections. We have not held local government elections for 20-something plus years while we were in office. But we now see it as a tool of getting legitimacy. And so let us use that backdoor to get legitimacy. How will we get legitimacy by local government elections? We are going to rig it in such a way that we will win the majority, if not all, of the constituencies. And so we will say the majority of the people voted for us. And that gives us legitimacy. A lot of people seem not to, or pretend not to understand that. But that's the reality. Now the challenge is, do you think the PPP would want to go to a local government election, which they are trying to use to legitimate the presence in office, and lose it? I would be a damn fool to believe that. And so the only way they are going to gain the legitimacy or project legitimacy through the local government elections, they have to win overwhelmingly well. What have they done to win overwhelmingly? They've rigged the system. And they're continuing to rig the system. You see, a lot of people believe elections are necessarily won on elections day. No. Won and lost on elections day. No. They won and lost way ahead of elections day, based on the preparations which are done, based on how political parties sell a manifesto, based on who controls the electoral machinery, based on who the international community wants. All of those things impact election results. Right now, we know that the PPP has rigged the electoral machinery because they are in control of it. And people believe rigging is such a sophisticated thing. Let me explain this to you. In Berbice, where there are PPP constituencies, which are small, Samuel Sandy was on this program explaining it months ago. Small number of villages, let's say 8 villages, form an NDC. But the PPP always wins there. What they have done is divided that area into 2 constituencies. So instead of getting one seat out of that constituency, they now get 2. Where the coalition is known to be winners all the time. To win by expanding. That's the minister attempted to do it on his own. It was taken to court. They realized they couldn't win. They pulled back. And then GECOM took it up on its own. But GECOM took it and acted on it as if it were GECOM's business. It is GECOM's business constitutionally. But they adopted the minister's recommendations to changes and granted them to the minister. And so they just did the PPP's work for the PPP to gerrymander and rig the election on the ground. Then they are stacking the election secretariat, GECOM itself, the commission, with PPP operatives. And Giddings, for example, the man who stole the server from the operating center, that place, and put it in his car. They've chosen him over a person who was much more qualified and experienced, but apparently not leaning on the PPP side. And there are a long list of those things which I can go through with you. But the reality is the elections are rigged. Now people are asking this young lady, a voice note came, for example, and say if PNC doesn't partake, right? If PNC doesn't partake in the election, the PPP will take over all the areas controlled by the opposition, all in municipalities and in these areas and so on. Yeah. But that will only happen if you allow any election to take place. There must be an election. There must be an election for the present construct of these NDCs to be changed. There must be an election to change councillors and so on at these NDC, unless the government is brave and bold enough to go by way of interim management committees again, which are problematic by themselves. I'm not going to deal with that right now. But there must be an election for the legitimate, legal, constitutional change of councillors in these NDCs and municipalities. So if there's no elections, if there are no elections, then things remain as they are. And the WPA is saying to you, ensure there will be no elections. So things will remain as they are until the electoral machinery is fixed. Now hear me. You're not likely to achieve that goal unless you're prepared to fight for it. Unless you're prepared to fight for it. My current issue is the opposition is not saying it's going to fight for it. It is saying that it must contest these elections, otherwise the PPP will take over. But if the PPP takes over as a result of an election where no other political party takes part, the legitimacy of that taking over comes into question again. And so the local government election will not give them legitimacy because the other parties did not partake, because the cry is the elections have been rigged. But if you, in this quest to protect what you currently have, control over, access, management, whatever, go into an election where you know that the system is rigged and the processes are rigged. When the PPP comes out triumphant in the majority of NEC's areas, then you have nothing to cry about. You gave them legitimacy. You took part in an election that you know was already rigged. And so you enter with the rules, you live by the rules. You all decide for me which is a better option. Go into a rigged election or campaign against a rigged election being held. Y'all gotta decide. I know where I stand. And that last statement, y'all gotta know if y'all gonna go into an election or campaign against it, is in part answer to a question which was just asked of me by one of our viewers. Why don't you run for local government elections? Because number one and foremost, that very reason. I'm one of the earliest persons, if I remember, to say nobody should partake in local government elections under the current electoral system. And I don't care how many votes are guaranteed for me to win a seat or whatever. I don't care how the constituency wants me to partake in the election. I don't care if I could get a guarantee of winning, which I have no doubt I would if I contest. The Buxton friendship area especially, Buxton. I care that if I partake in a corrupted election, I'm endorsing corruption, electoral corruption, and I will not do it. I can't tell other people to live and play their politics, but I can choose to me. I will not support a corrupt election. I will not even support a corrupt government. So y'all keep that one in mind. I lived without political power for all of my years. I'm close to 50 now. I've always been an activist. I never thought wherever these people that go after in public offices and so on. I served when I've been called to. And I don't care how much lure or my office is beyond me, is in front of me. I will not support a corrupt system. So that's my long and short answer of why I will not run for local government election. But those who choose to go, I wish you good luck. My message to the Guyanese people and everybody else is you should be marching against the election. You should be highlighting to the world that the elections are going to be corrupted because the systems are corrupted. And so by that you don't give legitimacy to people who want it through illegitimate means. Call Alleyne, final one for the day.
Good morning to one and all. But I'm glad you made that statement just now. Because in regards to the local government and who could win, who could not. But because the WPA, they stand in as so moral, right? And that is portrayed there because there's a lot of doubters and so on, especially in this corrupt regime. Things that the WPA is no more, and they can't win nothing. But I would like to say to all them, if there's one thing, if there's one election that the WPA could win, is local government elections, and in that particular area that you just mentioned there, right? And if they refuse to enter into an election, knowing that they could win that, but they refuse to enter into the election because of all this fraud and so on is already being perpetrated by the corrupt PAP government. And they refuse to do that. That's showing morals. That's showing respect for all. Self-respect and everything. And I really do applaud the WPA for taking that stand. And I think that lots of people should support them. Not thinking that it's a party just looking for vote and just looking for whatever, for looking out for themselves, but they're looking out for all because they decide to not to contest this election, knowing that they could win, especially that part, and they refuse to do so because of these the standards are not there. So we should look up our hats off to the WPA, and I congratulate the WPA on taking that stand. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Two final voice notes. Let me get them out of the way, and we're heading for a wrap.
Morning, Mr. Gaddafi. Right now, I think that my belief is that they should go into go to the local government and vote. The reason why I'm saying that is when you go in there, you got to go and vote. And when you vote and you go in to see, let us see again if they would want to rig this election. And I think, my belief is, I think if they go in and they rig this election, this local government election, I think it will be a big problem in Guyana. And you don't know what will happen, because I think this time the people is not going to stand up for what they did in the regular election. And what I see is Guyana will become like the Muslim country, like the Middle East, where you got these different type of people are fighting, like the Shia and all these things. and it will be in a terrible state. And it's not one person going to feel it. It's going to be the rich going to feel it because they got an investment to lose, and it's going to be the poor who's going to feel it. So a war does not bring, war bring peace sometimes. Every war that you see you have, it brings peace. Yes, it will cost lives, it will cost certain things. But whenever you finish, you know, something as Malcolm X said, by all necessary means, you know, and something has to be done. And I think if this election, when they go in this local government election, I think this is the time that all boots should be on the ground and shut the country down. That is my belief. Thank you.
Thank you for that voice note. I heard I am subjected to respect other people's considerations. I've shared mine already. What people say in Asiam a day and take jog lamp for look for 'em at night. That's all I want to tell you.
Hello, Mr. Kadaki. They have to be there. Even if they don't win, but they have, their representation must be there for the people.
April in the year 2023, as it's the 13th of April, it's 60 minutes past 9. You're being and I hope that you have determined in your mind that these are things worth fighting for. Because that's the other thing, you know. A lot of us who call ourselves leaders and so on might be identifying things which we believe are worth fighting for. But we're not getting reciprocity, we're not getting the people to respond because the people don't believe these things are worth fighting for. And so when we talk about fair elections and $1 million cash grant to household and so on, people are not fighting for it because those are not their priorities. Sometimes their priority is a $5,000 and a box of food with some free liquor. Sometimes their priority is just being satisfied with living in a rent house and having a car note monthly. Everybody has a different priority. And so until our priorities really mesh, we're not necessarily working towards the same end. So what are your priorities? You want democracy and good governance? Or you just want to live? You want a free, fair, and credible elections, or you just want to partake in an election? Right? You want to take a gamble on an election, or you want to know that the systems in place are systems that will guarantee you free, fair, and credible results? I'll decide. I know where I stand. I've already explained my position. Sunday we're going to Plaisance. Plaisance Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. Plaisance lined up there. The WP is hosting another meeting. Speakers are TACUMA OGUNSEYE. Of course, TACUMA OGUNSEYE is going to be the main speaker. Dion Abrams, Kidaki, Amsterdam, Elton Macri, and others. So you can come out 6 o'clock on Sunday, Plaisance Railway Line. And let's continue to talk about political and economic situations in this country. Let's move the conversation forward. Do not believe any man. It's so great. Or so mean. Or so dangerous that you cannot talk about them, especially when they offer to be in public life. Don't ever do it. You'll be doing yourself for this an injustice. Don't do it. Trust in thy Creator, and all shall be well. Goodbye. Have a good day.